Hi, welcome again. In this second unit of object-oriented programming, we're going to focus now on inheritance between objects. So, what's inheritance? Inheritance is a way that we can compose different classes to mix different behaviors that are common in several classes into a superclass that contains this behavior. So, in this case, we're going to have parent or superclass classes and child or subclass classes that share some behaviors between them. So the subclasses contain all the attributes, methods, any behavior from the superclass, and they can refine this behavior to create a more specific class with a certain methods or attributes or any other element. With this, we can reuse code that would otherwise be copy and pasted throughout classes, and we can make sure that we can change any behavior by just changing a single file in our software. So, if we see here an example, we can have a general figure class as the superclass, and then we can have specific classes for specific shapes and figures we may want to draw and represent. In this case, the figure class will contain the common attributes to all figures. In this case, for example, the color is independent of the type of figure we have. And of course, we'll create a constructor such that we can pass the color to the figure and inside save it as an attribute. From this class, we can create several subclasses. For example, in this case, we're going to create a circle class, which will have a radius in this case, defining the distance between the center and the side of the circle. And the rectangle class can have two private instance variables or attributes representing the length and the width of the rectangle. Of course, we could have many more classes, but I would just want to focus on this small example. So let's see the circle subclass. The first difference between a normal class and this class is that we can find here, between parentheses, the name of the superclass. So whenever we define a subclass, we need to define it as normal, with the reserved keyword class, and then the name of the class, and then between parentheses, the name of the superclass. Then we, of course, define a constructor, and in this case, we need this constructor to have all the relevant attributes, including those of this class and the superclass. So in this case, we have the radius of the circle and the color that the circle will have. But we do not have access to the color itself, because that comes from the superclass. So in this case, we're going to call a special method called super, which lets us access the superclass of this object. And then we're going to call the constructor and pass the color to it. This is one of the only cases in which you will call the constructor directly, instead of just using the keyword, the name of the class, to call the constructor implicitly. Then we just define the specific variables for this class, in this case the radius, and we define the getter and setter methods, because in this case the radius can only be larger than 0. So we need a setter and a getter, and we need to make this attribute private with a double underscore. Let's see a bit more on the super method. So the super method allows us to access any element from the superclass. So as you saw, we can call super parentheses and then the name of the method, for example, the initializer or constructor, and pass it the different parameters it needs. We don't need to pass we don't need to pass the self value, even though it appears here, because the super acts as the self object. We can also use the super in the rectangle case. So in this case, we also have the inheritance from figure. We have a few more attributes, in this case the length, the width, and the color of the rectangle. We pass the color back to the superclass with super double underscore init double underscore and the color, and then we assign the length and the width, and we will probably need to limit the length and the width to be both positive in this case too. And we use setter and getters because of this restriction. If we actually use this code, we can instantiate circles and rectangles by using their constructors. Recall that rectangles had 3 parameters, length, width, and color, and circles had 2, the radius and the color. And we can use its getter methods, even though, for example, the getColor method was defined in the circle class. We can use it in the figure class. We can use it on circles and rectangles, and we can obtain the parameters from both objects without issue. We can also use the function isSubclass to check whether a class is a subclass of another, or whether an object is a subclass of another class, so it belongs to that class. Let's see a few comparisons. First, we could check figure and circle. So, is circle a subclass of figure? And Python says yes, because circle was implemented with figure as its superclass. If we ask the opposite question, we'll of course get a false answer. And so if we ask, is figure a subclass of circle? It'll say no. We can also ask whether 2 subclasses are subclasses of each other. In this case, the answer is no, because a circle is not a subclass of a rectangle. And we can also ask questions regarding specific objects. Sorry, the object here is a keyword that says the superclass of all classes is object. So both figure and rectangle are subclasses of the object class. And this is all. We'll see a bit more on inheritance and polymorphism on the next video.